Prachi,
Yes, good morning.
good morning. I was just thinking a slight recap
Yes,
of
that will
the
be
four
one.
at the beginning and then start. Okay.
Absolutely, let's do that.
Yeah. Of course, a little bit is mentioned here when Swamiji talks about the Shastra. So just read that and then you see whatever little you want to say, you say, and then because that becomes a bit of a recap of what we did last week, the four
Yeah,
human goals.
so you want to explain the Purushartha a bit, what we studied last time?
No, just to say that we have four human goals.
Yes.
But actually, there is ultimately only one goal. And then he's explained that three are considered prayers. And I think it's there in the first paragraph. So I guess it's okay.
Okay. So, so is anyone having any questions from last week? Ritu and others, if they have any questions? Dimples, you can answer.
Whatever I can, I'll answer. Let's put it like that.
Otherwise, we can move on to the chapter number 2, Shāstram. Okay, so I guess there are no questions. Shall we start?
Please, please.
Yeah. Chapter 2, Shāstram. In the last chapter, we saw that all the human goals can be divided into two, prayas and shreyas. This is the content of our scriptures. Scriptures are called śāstram in Sanskrit. Scriptures are that body of literature which help a person in the fulfillment of the two goals. We should understand that scriptures have come only to help humanity, not to bind it, not to create problems to humanity, not to restrict the freedom of humanity. Scriptures have come only to help the human being to fulfill the human goal, and the scriptures do not impose themselves too. Scriptures are like the "may I help you" counters in the railway station. In other words, if we want help, they're ready to provide it. If we're confident of managing on our own, they wish us the best. The person at the counter does not call everyone and advise. The counter is only for those who need help. Similarly, the scriptures do not force themselves, but they make themselves available for those who care to seek their help. What is meant by the word śāstram? Sasyanat trayate iti śāstram. That which teaches a human being and helps him or her is śāstram. Shas means to treat, to teach. Try means to protect. As the person as the inquiry counter saves the person from a lot of trouble or waste of time, similarly, the scriptures save a lot of time and trouble for human beings. Our śāstram is a voluminous one. In other religions, scripture is a small one, which you can finish in a day's reading. Perhaps even one night is enough. Whereas our scriptural literature is a vast one, which we can study for janmas. Even then, we may not complete it. So, any reflection on this? Or is it self-sufficient?
I think that is self-explanatory.
Okay.
It's just that the Shastram is divided into the primary literature, which is the Veda, and then there is secondary literature. So carry on, yeah.
Okay. So the first is the Vedas, the primary literature. A peripheral view of our scriptural literature, which will also help us get an idea of the greatness of our rishis. Of our rishis and forefathers who had worked so much to produce and preserve this vast literature. Of these scriptures, the most important and primary one is called the Vedas. They are the Mula Shastrams or the primary scriptures. The Vedas are 4 in number: the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, the Sama Veda, and the Atharva Veda.
Atharvana.
According to tradition, the Vedas we have now is incomplete, as many parts of the Veda have been lost in course of time. We are not able to find some portions that Adi Shankaracharya quotes, because between Adi Shankaracharya's time and our time, portions of the Vedas have been lost. Tradition holds that the 4 Vedas originally had more than 1,000 branches, of which a few are available today. The existing branches themselves are so voluminous that we are not able to study even one Veda completely. we try to study Gayatri as a sense of these Vedas. Now, who are the authors of these Vedas? According to tradition, the Vedas were not invented by the human intellect at all. In Sanskrit, a human product is called Paurusheya. That which is the product of human effort. Vedas are not considered to be Paurusheya. They are considered to be the gift of the Lord. Therefore, they're called Aparusheya śāstram, a non-human product. How did the Lord gift that Vedas to the humanity? It is said that the rishis served as a media for receiving the Vedas. Each rishi is like a TV set, which is the receiving center, receiving information from the transmission center, which we do not see. Transmission is not from a place on the earth or anywhere local. Transmission is from the Lord himself. Yo Brahmanam Vidahati Purvam Yo Vai Vidamsha Parihi Noti Tasmai. Please correct me if the pronunciation is not right.
Don't worry, carry on. Yeah.
The Lord creates Brahma in the beginning and then transmits Vedas to him. Thus, the Vedas were available in the form of Shabda or sound waves, and the rishis were the qualified people to receive them. The rishis received these Vedas and gave them to the entire humanity. Thus was set up a tradition, and the rishis are called mantra drashtas. Mantra drashtas. Okay, the seers. Yes, drashtas. The seers of the mantra. The rishis are mantra drashtas and not mantra kartas.
Okay, I just want to further just slightly elaborate this. I hope people have understood what is said according to the tradition is that at the time of creation, where each kalpa, the creation happens, the knowledge of the Vedas is put out as sound waves. And it's the old rishis who have sat and in meditation intuited the sound waves and understood and meditated on them and kept this as an oral tradition for thousands of years, I don't know how long. Only much later did Ved Vyas, from what was left of the Vedas, he codified and classified them into the 4 Vedas. And that's how these names came about. Carry on, please, Prachi.
Yes. The secondary literature, to support and elaborate these 4 Vedas, we have many secondary scriptures. These secondary scriptures are not revelations from the Lord, written by great acharyas or teachers. Therefore, they're called Paurusheya śāstram. Veda is called Aparusheya śāstram, whereas all the secondary scriptures which elaborate the Vedas are called Paurusheya śāstram. These secondary scriptures are meant to elaborate the Vedic teachings, and therefore the scriptures also deal with the attainment of the basic human goals, that is, prayas and shreyas. Why should we ever have secondary literature? Are not the Vedas sufficient? Secondary scriptures are required due to many reasons. The Vedas contain many ideas which are abstract in form. As they are abstract in form, many people who do not have a subtle intellect cannot understand them. Therefore, the abstract ideas of the Vedas will have to be presented in concrete form. This is similar to teaching numbers to a child. Numbers are too abstract and a child does not understand them. In the kindergarten senior sections, they are set in concrete forms so that the abstract idea is concretized. To teach number 1 to a child, 1 banana is placed before the child. Similarly with other numbers and colors. The names of colors come very easily to an adult. However, to a child, each color has to be represented by an object. Thus, the child required something concrete to bring the abstract before him. Similarly, the secondary scriptures bring many ideas into concrete form through various stories, either imaginary or true. Some stories are historical and help even a research scholar. Some may be a mixture of both fact and fiction, but the aim of the story is to convey abstract ideas. Therefore, we require secondary scriptures. There's another reason that is more important. So the Vedas teach a lot of things. The information given is not systematically arranged. The Vedas, in fact, are like a wild forest in which there are vegetables, flowers, fruits, and so on, and the varieties in each of them. But these are not arranged properly in a systematic manner. The Vedas talk about various types of sadhanas for a brahmachari, a student, a grihastha, a married person, a sannyasi, a renunciate. All these are often mixed together. The second literature arranges them systematically. Should I go on to the sutras? Or we want
Yes. There's something I forgot to say is the Vedas are also called Shruti. Shruti means the spoken word of the Lord. I just wanted to add that.
Okay, thank you. The sutras. The first and foremost secondary scripture is called the sutras. We have Dharma Sutra, Shrota Sutra, and Griha Sutras written by many rishis. We have sutras codifying the contents of the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, the Sama Veda, and the Atharvana Veda. Here, the Vedic teachings are well codified and arranged to indicate the duties of a brahmachari, a grihastha, a vanaprastha, and a sannyasi. They also enumerate the duties of a brahman, a kshatriya, a vaishya, and so on. For the sake of each remembrance, all these are presented in a sutra form, a terse form called an aphorism. A profound idea is stated in a short form so that people can learn these easily by heart. It should be remembered that they do not have literature in written form. Either they did not write it out or the facilities were not available then. All the Vedas were chanted from memory, so also the sutras. The Smritis. When things are presented in a terse form, there is a possibility of our missing something. It may lead to confusion. So came the next stage of literature called the Smriti Granthas. The authors of these secondary scriptures studied the Vedas, remembered the teachings, and systematically presented them in their own language. Hence, they're called Smritis, remembered wisdom. We have many Smritis like the Manu Smriti, Yajna Valkya Smriti, Parashara Smriti, Vyasa Smriti, and so on. They are metrical compositions consisting of verses or shlokas. Each Smriti is well codified too. So if you want to know about a particular topic, you may do so by choosing the relevant chapter. If you want to know about a topic in the Vedas, you will see that some information is available in the last portion of the Rig Veda, some in the middle of Yajur Veda, and some more in the Sama Veda. But in the Smriti Granthas, we can easily find out the material under the chosen heading. Okay, so little elaboration required on this, please.
Yeah, so see, the Vedas, because they were an oral tradition, and at the time when they did get written and they were classified and made into 4, but there are bits and pieces here and there everywhere. So the Smriti Granthas are where the Acharyas have put each topic correctly in its order. They have picked up from the different Vedas, and accordingly, whatever, depending on what the topic was, they have codified it. That's all it means, actually.
Okay, thank you.
See, there are these dharmas he'll talk about, na? Samanya dharma, which is general duties, and Vishesha dharma, which are specific duties, and other dharmas. So all those are put in their own categories.
Okay. So we have Samanya Dharma, as said, for general duties, Vishesha Dharma for specific duties, Apadharmas for duties in crisis are given in a well-codified form. They're all a neat presentation of rules on how to treat your mother, father, wife, husband, children, Shishya, the Guru, and so on. These are the Smritis. The Itihas.
No Puranas? You don't have Puranas in yours? In your book?
No, there's no Purana. Puranas are below Itihas.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. The Itihas. Then comes the range of literature called Itihas. Itihas literature is historical literature, which is literature dealing with history or based on history. We have here the well-known Ramayana and the Mahabharata deal with events that really took place long ago. A few fictitious events may have been added here and there for the sake of story value. This is similar to making a movie out of real life incident. We have the Titanic, a movie which is a mixture of fact and fiction. The word itihas means thus it happened. Itihasa. Ramayana means the life of Rama, the path of Rama, the way of life led by Rama, Ramasya Avyanam. Mahabharata, yes, Mahabharata is a story of Bharata Vamsa.
Vamsha.
Okay. It is a book that runs to 1,00,000 verses. It is so voluminous that it got the title of Mahabharata. We have two itihas, the Ramayana, 24,000 verses, and the Mahabharata, 1,00,000 of verses, 100,000 verses. Sage Valmiki and Sage Vyas wrote these respectively. The Puranas, the Purans. Then came the next range of literature called the Purans, where we find stories for every value and duty. The Purans show how difficult it is to follow these rules and how some people, in spite of all the difficulties, remain steadfast in following the same duties. The Purans thus remain a very vast literature. In the Smritis, we have a few thousand verses, whereas each Puran consists of 15,000 to 80,000 verses. It is because there are stories running into thousands of verses for every value that is talked about. For just one Vedic mantra, Satyam Vada, speak the truth, we have the whole story of Harishchandra in the Puran. The Puran show the number of problems one has to face if one has to follow one value. There will be more occasions to violate them than to follow. Harishchandra remained steadfast and finally got the benefit. Thus, for one Satyam Vada, we have the whole story of Harishchandra. Similarly, for each value, we have stories, some of which are factual and some of which are a mixture of fact and fiction. We have 18 Purans and 18 Uppurans, totally running to 36. Most of these are attributed to Vyas. Thus, we have lakhs and lakhs of verses. Translations of these Purans also are available. The Purans are so called because they are Pura Api Navaha. In other words, even though they're ancient, they're ever valid, ever meaningful, ever useful, and never obsolete. Even though the stories appear fictitious, through them are conveyed eternal truths. The society may change, but these truths will never change. Even today, when there is a mythological story shown on TV, there is attraction. The beauty is it attracts not only the child by catering to its fancies, but also the elders by providing food for thought. Along with philosophy, there is ethics, sociology, and psychology. The Western psychologists are today talking about the greatness of our Purans. We do not require a Walt Disney, for we have our Purans to cater to children's fantasy. We have instances of man becoming animal or man becoming a stone becoming an animal, and so on. All these and more. So do we now start the two portions of the Vedas?
Yeah, finish that. Then I just want to say something here.
Yeah.
That is somebody who is seriously interested in scriptural study or self-knowledge. It is the Smriti Granthas that are most important. Itihasa is very useful because in the middle of the Mahabharata, we have the Bhagavad Gita. 800 verses out of those 100,000, whatever, are the Bhagavad Gita. So that's necessary to study. But in these Smriti Granthas, there are a lot of what they call supporting texts, which actually further clarify what is said in the Upanishads. And those are what you end up studying. The Puranas are story value, which is good. I mean, they have story as a content, and they're very good for teaching people values. But when it comes to, and you know, so when it comes to studying Vedanta, Puranas are only just a stepping stone. You have to get to these other granthas, and they're written by various acharyas. There are hundreds and thousands and I don't know, hundreds of thousands of those. Some, of course, are very famous and they help you to understand the reality of life. The sutras actually, see, none of us who are studying Vedanta or have been studying actually do the Vedas in the last bit. It will tell you that there are two parts of the Vedas, the Veda Purva and the Vedānta. Okay, so the Vedānta basically consists of Upanishads. So those are studied generally under an acharya who can explain it better. You start off with supporting texts, which will first make you understand what the basic terminology used by the Upanishads are. Do the Bhagavad Gita to get emotional maturity. And then the last thing one does is the sutras. Those apparently are the most difficult. I haven't even done the sutras, so I don't know what they're all about. Puranas are really more for story value, to understand how to grow as a mature human being. So that's all I wanted to say. Please carry on.
Thank you. Two portions of the Vedas, Veda Purva and Vedānta. The Vedas ask us whether we want to lead a life of dependence or one of independence. We seem to love dependence because we have got used to it, like the rat that got used to being in a trap and was not ready to come out. We too, like the rat, have got used to a life of dependence on people, money, and all those things needed for security and entertainment. We want to acquire and maintain. If we want to acquire things and maintain them, the Vedas help us. If we become tired of dependence and are wise enough to seek independence, the same Veda will provide us the method. The Vedas never impose anything. It is for us to decide and choose. Based on these, the Vedas are broadly classified into two portions, Veda Purva and Vedānta. Veda Purva deals with the fulfillment of the first three Purusharthas that lead to a dependent life. Security and entertainment are dealt with in Veda Purva. It talks about earning wealth and becoming prosperous, about having a large family, about traveling all over, about material education, and so on. In other words, Veda Purva talks about prayas. Once a person becomes matured, he or she wants to become independent, and at this stage, Vedānta comes to help. Vedānta helps in discovering independence, moksha, shreyas. The content of the Vedas, consisting of Veda Purva and Vedānta, is content of the sutras, smritis, purans, and itihas.
Prachi, you have any questions that if you ask, maybe it can help others also?
So yeah, very simply, I did not know about Vedānta. I knew is the end of knowledge where you
Anta, know. Anta, Veda, Anta.
Yes,
Vedanta.
yes, the end of knowledge where you are getting enlightened into a life of living simply and also of becoming independent of all kinds of moh-maya. You are involved, but yet you're independent. But Veda Purva, I did not know that has these three things about Purushartha being spoken about. So
no, I'll tell you what it is, Prachi. It is also called Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. The Karma Kanda is the Veda Purva and the Jnana Kanda is the Vedānta. Okay, Vedānta. So Karma Kanda actually has rituals for everything in life. I am told, I don't know about this, but there was a time farmers needed rain. And Puja Swamiji, that's Swami Dayananda Saraswati, he organized a particular yagna. But the thing is, and actually rain came. But the thing is that the rituals that are mentioned in the Veda Purva have to be followed absolutely correctly. You cannot afford to make a mistake, only then will it be effective. But that is all for gaining wealth. There is something called Putra Kameshti. I don't know, all kinds of things are there. You want a son, you want wealth, you want success in something, whatever. All that is possible. But the fact of the matter is, I have seen the way priests are reciting certain prayers and all the way they rush through it like a freight train, you know. So I don't know how that helps people, but most people are very happy just getting priests to come home to do all kinds of homams and yagnas just because they want material benefits. So the Veda has that also available in it. But as they say, statutory warning, none of it can last because anything that's born in time has to go in time. If that is what satisfies you, fine, that's what you do. But then you stay in the cycle of samsara. If you want to think beyond it and say, look, what exactly is my purpose in life? What am I doing here? Then those are the people who will come to Vedanta, and they are very, very few.
Yeah.
So that is what the difference is. You know, there are even rituals for you to go to higher lokas. There are people I know of who have done certain rituals, followed exactly. They have this thing called muddy here, which is that you have to make sure that there is no violation of the ritual the way it's meant to be done, because somebody wants to go to Sarga Loka or whatever. What people do not seem to realize or do not care, that even so-called higher lokas are places of temporary sojourn. Your punya gets you there, but punya has the nature of getting exhausted.
Correct.
And as it diminishes and gets exhausted, you're going to fall right back to earth.
Yeah, you have to.
And you will just stay like that rat on the treadmill. So is that where you want to live? Because there is no guarantee what happens in life. This is a plane of duality. You can have good times, you can have bad times, good health, bad health. You want to stay stuck in this wheel, or do you want to try and get out of it? That is when the inquiry starts and you get into Vedanta, and then you proceed. So that is what the two parts are.
But it's so surprising. I've done the treatise of Vedanta, and yet when I'm reading this, it's like as if it's brand new. It's never read there, done there. Took so many years to read it, but it just feels like new again. So it's very beautiful.
And I need to correct, actually, you know, there's something we all should do at a later stage once we have done with this particular book. There's a very nice book Puja Swamiji wrote called The Value of Values. Okay.
Wow, value of
so
value.
A value is a value only when the value of the value is of value to you. Right. So for example, he says, most people think, so that's a brilliant text to do also. We should do it. He's taken 4 verses from one of the chapters in the Bhagavad Gita where Lord Krishna talks about Devi Sampatti, and he's explained each of those values. And he said something very interesting, which is, you know, it has stayed with me when I read it years ago. He says, see, you do something wrong and nobody knows about it. It could be transaction, monetary or whatever. It could be trying to get away from the IT, whatever it could be. And you think nobody knows. So you've got away with it. You've got that temporary benefit. But see, deep down, we are all, as part of our mental makeup, we all know what is right, what is wrong. What is right, what you don't want happening to you, you must not do to another. You don't want somebody to, even a robber doesn't want somebody to rob from him.
Right.
So when you know what it is, it's programmed, it's part of our DNA. So you may think you've got away, you've done something to even cheat another person, you've got away with it. But your subconscious mind is conflicted. It's a splintered mind. And the pressure there builds up. So to follow values is not for the sake of the world to say, oh, what a wonderful person, you know, it's for your own sake. You must have arjava, which is alignment of what you're thinking, what you're saying, how you're acting. That is why values are important. They're not important to impress the world or to gain medals or brownie points. It is for your own sake, to reduce the baggage and emotional burden in your subconscious. So Puranas also, that is why they take all those values and make big stories out of it. But we have some brilliant acharyas, I'll tell you that. We are just doing a text. We'll do Tattva Bodha, which is later in this book, which gives an explanation. But we've just done a text called Drig Drishya Viveka. It's a little high-flown text, but very, very interesting. I just want to, if you don't mind, I'll just talk about it very briefly.
Yes, please, of course.
So, Prachi, simple. In life, there's always a subject and an object. So I'm the subject. I'm reading this book in front of me, which is the object. So It's my book. You've got your book, I've got my book. So when I say my book, I don't think I'm the book. It's my book. I have a car, but I don't think I'm the car. So basically anything you can objectify is not you. Right. It's other than the subject. The subject and object can never be the same. But then you also say my body. So you have to understand you're not the body. You even say my eyes, my hearing, I can't hear, my sense of hearing. You even know your mind, my mind. My mind is very stressed today. So are you the mind? Then who are you? That is the process of inquiry. You come down to the fact that you are the consciousness that is giving sentiency to what is an inert mind, body, sense complex. But anyway, I'm jumping ahead. I just wanted to tell you, we have such brilliant texts.
No, of course, and we are neither the mind nor the body, though we start associating ourselves with it. But these Vedanta and these texts will bring us in just closer to our spirituality, our soul's essence, our purpose, our uniqueness.
So we need the mind, body, sense to transact, because we live in which is a transactional reality. That will come later.
Right.
Yeah. We need it. But remember, you're just playing a role.
Yes.
And the thing is, it's hard to break the connection because we've done it over anadi lifetimes.
Yeah.
The thing is, as Swami Paramathanand says, just remember, like an actor goes into the green room and remembers that, yes, I'm an actor playing a role. In your day, sometime for a little while, dwell on it. Don't say the whole day saying, no, I'm not so and so, I'm mind, body, I'm consciousness. You can't do that. Yeah. People would think you're nutty. But just kind of reflect on it a little bit. Try and reduce that Jiva Bhava and increase your Brahma Bhava. That is the purpose of Vedanta. To make you think.
Yeah, so raise your consciousness, to make you think, yes. And to keep
understand what real nature is.
Yes.
You're not the object, you're the subject.
Right. Well, fantastic 2 bits of wisdom, and we'll ponder over this. Thank you, Dimples, once again for this very enlightening morning. And yes, we'll take it slowly, steadily, self-study.
I wanted to say something to you. Next week, let us start, instead of jumping into what is the Varna Ashram we will do and the Vyavasthas, but let us start with the end of the book, talks about the law of karma. It's just 2-3 pages.
Let's do that.
And that should be very interesting. Let us read that.
Perfect.
Because people need to understand that also. The reason why one needs to know Vedanta is because you have to understand cause and effect. Every action has a reaction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we'll read that first, and then we'll see how it goes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you
so much. Thank you for sharing your life. Thank you, everyone. God bless.
Thank you. It was wonderful.
Thank you so much.